An education voucher is a form of direct benefit transfer. In other words, a voucher is a document promising the user to avail a service and pay the fee using the voucher. In this case, a student can receive the voucher from the government and then pay the fees using the voucher. The school can then use the voucher and take the money promised against it directly from the government. Say the fees of the school is 800 rupees a month and the voucher is worth 500 rupees. The parents can then add 300 rupees to the total amount and then can send their child to a better school which they couldn't otherwise. Article 26 of the UN Declaration states that the primary rights over a child's education is of the parents, and hence they should have more choice and control over how and where the child receives her education. A voucher can play a really important role here. It provides the parent much more control and choice over where they want their child to study. They can choose a school which is near or far from them, a school with a different language of instruction, or simply any school that they think will benefit their child. A voucher will also motivate schools to perform better. Public schools will have to up their level. Since their income will then be dependent on the number of vouchers that they receive, they will have to provide better service and better infrastructure so as to attract and retain students. It will lead to a healthy competition between schools because their income is not dependent on government subsidies. Since the public schools will be competing with the private schools now, the overall standard of the education will go higher. Private education has largely been a monopoly of the financially strong, which stops the weaker section of the society from accessing it. Despite the provision of reservations, there is only a very small part of the population which can actually avail this opportunity. As such, this circle goes on and the marginalized communities are not able to get out of the rut. A voucher system will ensure that they are brought into the mainstream and can avail this benefit. Education vouchers are largely a tried and tested means of improving the education system of a country. Countries like Bangladesh, Philippines and Sweden have already implemented the system and seen good results. Even in our own country, it has been adopted, although at a very minute level. States like Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, Delhi, Rajasthan and Uttarakhand, with the help of various organizations and the respective state governments, have applied this scheme and seen great results. It led to an increase in attendance since more students were motivated to go to the schools because now they had the economic means and also the choice of where they wanted to study. Also, a clear decrease in child labor was seen across the states wherever the scheme was implemented. Obviously, since its inception, there have been several question marks around its effectiveness. But that does not mean that it is not a good and implementable plan. What that means that for every question and drawback that has been pointed out, there are possible solutions and answers. Number 1. Can parents actually judge the schools or the suitability of the school for their children? This stems from a rather biased understanding that parents from the weaker section of the society who are not educated themselves cannot decide what a good school is. Conversely, what has been seen is that whenever a parent says that a school is good, it generally is. Number 2. Schools can skin select the students, which will work against social inclusion and won't be an equal opportunity medium for all. It might lead to selecting students from a particular social group or only picking up the ones who are more likely to perform better. To solve this conundrum, special provisions can be made. Actions against the school which indulge in such an activity is a start. Differentiated funding for the economically weaker sections, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes can be done to make sure that all the strata of the society are included in this benefit transfer scheme. Number 3. Another objection to this scheme is that the learning outcome is not significantly higher. There are two arguments against this. One, that the learning is higher. No progress, however small, is a sign of growth. Also, in certain aspects like female education, there has been significant growth. Secondly, there is no negative outcome. The system is better and not worse for adopting this means of education. Number 4. Some people also confuse this scheme as the privatization of education and propose that this will affect the public education system. To answer that, we must remember that the aim of this scheme is to improve the quality of education, whatever the source is. Also, it has been observed that private schools come up and continue to do so even in areas which don't have public schools. The aim of this scheme is to improve and better the system of education that we have right now. It does not promote building new schools, but bettering and making them more accountable. Education as a system needs to evolve with the times. A voucher system is the need of the hour. It is undoubtedly a step that the government must take to ensure a better educated India.